Welcome to the Leading Results Fitness Podcast, interviewing some of the best athletes in the world, discussing the training, diet and supplement principles of top coaches, educating you on all the things fitness and business. Sponsored by the UK's cheapest supplement supplier, My Gym Supps. Find all the top brands and lowest prices at www.mygymsupps.com. Also sponsored by the only female subscription site, Pro Female Fitness, where you can find some of the UK's best athletes discussing their diets and training with an interactive forum where you can ask any question and the athletes will get back to you. They have a library of over 300 videos to watch and learn. Now let's hand over to your host, Rob Whitfield, with this week's episode.
Hi guys, for joining us again today, and today it's a privilege to be joined by one of the former 212 Mr Olympias, David Emery. If you don't know who David is, I'm going to give him the platform and let him explain a little bit about himself. David, feel free, buddy.
Former 212 champion in different arenas, I guess, when the 212 took over from the 202, but the 202 Olympia first out 2008. I won the initial one, of course, and then consecutive seconds on some years after that. That'll just leave that where it is. But since then, 12 titles overall, professional titles, if you will, and still trudging ahead, despite all the silliness out there right now and how the arena has changed and the activity of bodybuilding, if you will. I don't know if you really call it a sport. Some people say it is and it isn't, but whatever that is. But we'll just go from there.
Sure. So
I am recently retired from the military, so people stop asking if I'm still in. I retired in 2014. Okay, so those of you that have been following me and say you're my biggest fans and followers should know this. Retired in 2014 as a master sergeant in the Air Force, 20 years, and right now I'm just hanging out like everyone else with a lot of time on my hands.
Yeah, sure. So David is the original giant killer. You were the first person I know to put that name out, and the original giant killer. Yeah. So I know a lot of people have tried to steal that name from you. So let's go back to when you first started competing, David. And when you first started competing, I know it was a fairly long time ago.
Yep.
Did you ever see yourself sort of go into the higher ranks, because there was no sort of 212 or 202 division back then?
Oh no, I mean, I made the conscious decision once you hit the national level stage. It's like, what are you there for? Are you trying to just see how far you can go? Is this just a business opportunity to advance your chosen business, or what do you want to do? So I think once I had the reality smack in the face of, whoa, you're actually a pro bodybuilder at this present time, I was like, well, shit, let's see how far I can take it. And then, you make your conscious decisions to do what you will and bring yourself up to those levels. And I did, and I'm okay with that. So, I mean, it's just, you make levels, and that's how I'm trying to word my stuff a little better and be a little more conscious of what I say on there, because a lot of people like to pull these things apart and nitpick and stuff, and it's unfortunate they do that. But you make yourself levels, and the first level was getting pro status. I was like, shit, I can do this. Second level is like, okay, well, how far can I take this? And I got there. The turning point was 2004 going into 5, where I made some serious changes and turnarounds, with the advances of medicines and technology and stuff like that, and all the rest of that silliness that goes along with it. And so I guess the rest is history, man.
Yeah. So when you turn from amateur to pro, your first pro show, obviously the amateur scene, you're in bodyweight classes, and then you go into this pro scene, which at the time didn't have that lighter weight class. Where did you foresee yourself going, and what were the challenges and obstacles that you saw?
I really didn't. I didn't give it much thought. I just knew I thought I looked pretty good for my size and stature. And getting on the stage, of course, with these guys at the time, they're giants and of the industry and on the stage, and they were, and they still are. For those that are still competing, lucky enough for me, I competed with some of the legends that are now in the past and have retired and stuff, and some of them are still around doing their own thing here and there and promoting themselves and businesses and thereabouts. But I didn't think of the size factor. All I knew was I was bringing up my size slowly but surely. When I first competed, I think I hit the stage at 187, and I stayed there for a couple years at that weight, and still managed to do fairly well against guys that were in their firm 250s, 260s on stage. So I didn't really think about that, and would they divide it up? But once they did, Robin Chang and all those guys said, "Hey, we're creating a new division coming up, and we think it would be perfect for you." And he literally pulled me aside and told me that. None of these other current guys. So they pulled me aside as a current dude to say, "This new class is right up your alley, and we think you would be perfect to represent it." So that's how that all got started.
Sure. So 202, which is the original, came about, and there's been a few fluctuations with the weight because it went from 202 and I don't know, 210, wasn't it? Then did it go back down and then back up?
Yeah, it didn't went back down and back up, and you had a nice famous MC of the bodybuilding industry say that that the 212 or 202 or whatever it was at the time wouldn't make any headway and it wouldn't get where it is. Well, open mouth, insert foot. Here it is years later. Your 212 is a vastly popular section of bodybuilding to be in.
Sure. So why? Because I know why they changed the weight back down, because people people might not remember this in the modern era, but people like Silvio Samuel was winning open and lighter weight shows. So what do you think then made them take the weight back up and then just hold it at this 212?
I couldn't tell you, man. I didn't speak to the powers that be at all, and I still don't, about any of this stuff and decisions that are happening on why they chose to move that to a nice even 212. I mean, whatever. Somebody they got together collectively and thought, hey, what is a good intermediate weight to put these guys at? And 212 was pretty damn challenging. It's still challenging for a lot of guys to do. So I think people should stay in their lane and stop crossing over and doing whatever just because they can't make it somewhere else. But I'll leave that alone too. So if you're getting too big for certain spots, you find your lane, you stay in it. For me, I like the 212. I don't foresee myself going anywhere in the open for the remaining time that I'm on the stage. I like the 212 division. It is challenging to get physically bigger, but drop your weight wise down to that level is pretty damn hard. So that tests you. It really challenges you.
Sure. So someone who was in the original 212, the original 202, who's now competed in the latest 212 Olympia, what have you seen in terms of changes apart from the 10 pounds over that period of time?
I've seen the conditioning get vastly better on all those guys, which is fantastic. I love seeing that. To me, it's a conditioning game. It shouldn't be the biggest blob on the stage because, I mean, that's what you look at. And that's what they see first and foremost. But to me, the conditioning is key. It always is and always has been. And when I'm done, it still will be. When I bring all my guys or girls up to these levels, my competitors, my clients, that's the things I'm going to focus on, because that means you're paying attention to your diet. You're paying attention to all those little things that make a big difference on screen went off on where you are for backlight. For where you are when you're on that stage. I mean, you want to be that kind of presence where one's looking at, go, man, is that really on the anatomy chart? Does the back really look like that? That kind of stuff. And for years, that was the kind of back detail and stuff that I brought in, and I'm still going to bring in at 45 years of age. I'm not slowing down. I may not be putting it all, showcased it out on IG like the rest of them doing, but I'm still here.
Yeah. Is that a trend as well that you've seen? I know you touched on it there about the Instagram. Is that something that you actually think has an impact on maybe the result or anything like that?
What, the conditioning?
No, like I know that people obviously like have a big following, and you know there
Oh,
is business
most
aspect.
definitely, man. Are you kidding me? Social media has freaking screwed it up for the rest of bodybuilding. That's how I see it. And a lot of people don't want to see it, but sit back and actually open your eyes and pull your head out of your ass and look and see that the social media presence has a ginormous impact on how these things are being called. Period.
Sure.
No matter how many titles you've got, no matter what you've done as a premier and pioneer in the industry, it just seems like once you put that IG presence and all the rest of that horse shit up there to the top levels, that they kind of forget that there are people actually better than you that don't have, 1.2 million followers or whatever the hell it may be. You know what I mean? And it doesn't equate to that when it's on stage. Unfortunately.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. So let's have a look at this first Olympia. The first 202 came about. When you were prepping for the show, David, did you what is your mindset when you prep? This is my title. I want to be the first. This is me. This has got me all over it.
You know what? I didn't prep like this is me all over it. I prepped for that contest like I knew how. I didn't know any difference. It wasn't a reality smack until I really won it. At 187 pounds, as a matter of fact, on that back wall right here, it's got me when I'm holding that check and the rest of that stuff. So I prepped as I knew how. My coach Scott Stevenson, still been way back then since 2003 on. Friend and confidant and coach all along. So he's been around for the entire ride of this, never jumped ship on anyone. So you play with the concepts of things and how your body responds to stuff. And I prepped the same way then as I'm prepping now as far as mentality goes. Is like every one of them you're trying to win.
Sure. And you said you got the picture there with the check. Can you, for the people who don't know, obviously I know the massive pay discrepancies between 212 and open. What did you win for winning the best bodybuilder in the 212 division or 202 division?
Shit, I don't even remember, bro. I got all that stuff in my basement, man, and like a lot of other stuff with all my trophies and all the huge checks and things at the time. If I give it a minute, because I know I'm standing there with Bob Chicarello and Dan Solomon, and they were holding my arms up during that time period, and when I won, and I think the check is down there between my legs. I'm not sure, or just the trophy itself.
Yeah.
But it's a severe discrepancy between the divisions itself, just because I don't know why it is, even though I think the 212 is a more popular decision amongst the people. If you ask them, if you poll them, because it's like for years they always knew that, hey, open class stuff was a given. Whoever was on that stage, this is who they were going to give it to. For the 212, I believe that the same amount of prep goes in, the same amount of dietary restrictions and stuff go in, and sacrifices, if you will, go into that. But the people didn't know what to expect. For years they knew, Flex Lewis is on stage, Dave Henry's on stage, Jose Raymond's on stage, Eduardo Carrera's on stage. So, like, any of those times could have changed hands in any of that period. So they were excited to see that, and they're still excited to see those kinds of things. So, to me, the pay didn't equate to the efforts. They should have, even if it was relatively close, maybe. Hell, man, maybe, I don't know, 20, 30,000 down from the top spot. Jeez, dude, that would have pulled people out of the woodwork who were retired, probably trying to get in the 212 at that point in time, So, I don't know, man. I really can't explain why the discrepancy exists, but it does immensely. So some people will argue that, it's not worth it to put your body through all what we do to get to that. To me, yes, it's great if you can get the money. At the end of it, it's a legacy, it's a title, it's the legend that you're creating, and that's what I'm existing for at this present time.
Sure. So let's flip over to open bodybuilding. What do you think of the current crop of open bodybuilders? A lot of people say it was this is obviously what people say, it was the worst for the last few years. What do you think of the standard of current open bodybuilding?
I don't know why people say the worst. It's almost like these guys are still trying to live back in the golden era of who should be what. I'm like, unfortunately, sorry, you're not gonna uninvent what's been invented, and what's been invented is the styles and type and the body configurations, if you will, of the individuals that are on stage. The legends of yesteryear are long gone and retired. So you gotta either embrace what we currently got or step away from the industry altogether. Okay, so what we got is what you're seeing right now. Whether they agree with it or not, they're bringing the best of the lineup of whatever they have at the present time. And once your body is formed a certain way, you're not gonna change it immensely to fit a more classic look. If you got a pickle barrel belly, trying to suck it in and do a vacuum pose, that shit ain't working for you so well. So that's the kind of stuff. So if people are looking for aesthetics and stuff, there's a bunch of dudes out there that have them. Have that, and you've seen it, and you saw it at the last Olympia. A lot of guys didn't get the call they should have got. Again, probably because of that social media horse shit. But there's a few dudes out there who justifiably should have been in the top spacings because overall aesthetics and look was great. But put those names out there, and it's almost like they start racking and stacking automatically with sight unseen, if you will, on how these guys are coming in. So it's unfortunate.
Sure. So there also is a massive trend of, obviously we're going to speak about the Olympia and the Open boys. Obviously Brandon Curry, the current Mr Olympia, goes to Kuwait, stays at Kuwait for a few months, and and there's a lot of people heading over that way. Is that something that you would have ever considered in your bodybuilding journey?
Hell no, man. No. And here's my reason for that. I love my family dearly, man. And I don't think me skipping out of the country for a title is worth all that. It really isn't. So for those that can, and their home life is on par with that, fantastic. Good for you. But my wife ain't having that shit. And I personally just don't see that it took that kind of extreme or takes that kind of extreme to get a title. When it becomes that, to me, I'm walking away. I really am. And I've already met each and every one of my goals in this industry that if I walked away right freaking now, I'd be all right. You know what I mean? So right now, I'm just going. I'm having a good time, man. Body's holding up. Internal health is still good. Blood work is good. I'm not broken. All body parts are functioning as they should be. So I'm still ready to rock.
Yeah, sure. And you spoke about being 45 and still ready to go. Do you put that down to some of your principles of training? If so, what are your principles of training? Do you put it down to the fact that you just love competing and you're still going to compete until you lose that love? What is it that makes you keep going at 45?
It's all in levels, man. And just like a lot of things, some people overdrive the need to be on top right out the gate. So you got people that are, in their 20s that, man, they're looking phenomenal. So at that point, it's like, what do you have after that to improve on? You're already great. Where do you go? Whereas me, if you look at myself and Dexter, I guess, seeing as he just recently retired, he's retiring this year from the rest of the competition, but he and I have the longest competitive streaks in the IFBB, period. And that's not disputed. That's proven on that. That's a fact of check the records, guys. So we haven't done silly things to our systems. We haven't put ourselves in a whole lot of extreme jeopardy. I don't think with training principles, dietary things, and all that other rest of the stuff that goes along with the pro bodybuilding level. And for me, I just said, you know what, health, wellness, and passing away early is not worth it. To play some of those guys. Then people be amazed what I do and don't do. They automatically assume people are doing X, Y, and Z. They don't know a damn thing. I was like, there's only two people on the freaking planet that know what I do. That's my wife and Scott. So the rest of them, keep guessing. You can suck it. So it's not all out there, and they seem to think that more is better with a lot of things, to include training. And what I'm teaching my clients, when I'm training my clients, when I'm practicing as well, is more is not better. You need to slow down, and in terms of slow down and smell the roses, right? Well, that same thing goes along with training. You need to slow the hell down, pay attention to the contraction and how that muscle's working for you. I tell them, make the weight work for you. Don't be working for the weight. You know what I mean? Make it work in your presence. And man, I'm getting great results following that myself on slowing a lot of things down. Still going fortitude, but I've got a lot more attention to detail in the muscle itself when training, and that's the same principles I pass on to my clientele.
Sure, brilliant. So, in terms of, let's rewind now. Before bodybuilding, and before you started competing, who was David Henry in high school? Was he an athlete? Was he somebody who enjoyed sport? Who was David Henry in high school?
I didn't know what I was in high school, bro. Really, I was one of those confused teenagers running around. I had identity crisis, because I'm a mixed race individual growing up in San Antonio, Texas. So, the vast amount of people around me were of Hispanic or Latino origin, if you will. And Henry didn't fit into that. So, I didn't know where I really belonged in that. So I did take the sports, as a secondary type thing. So I did run track and field in high school. I was very good at it, and did quite a bit of good things and great things on the field and on the track. So that kind of segued it a little bit into bodybuilding, if you will, because I was always asked, whoa, make a muscle, man, and stuff. And I didn't even know what the heck that was all about. I just had to build because I was training hard for running. I was a sprinter, short distance sprinter. Did shot put, discus, 220 low hurdles, 220 dash, 100 meter stuff. So my body was just shaping up, and I was just an active kid. So, I wasn't a jock per se. I wasn't anything, man. I kind of split my time between the headbanger dudes, or we call them the heads, the skaters over here, the jocks. I was kind of like friends with everybody, man.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know what I was in high school. I wasn't a bully by any means. I did get picked on because of my stature. I guess my height's 5'5", and it's been that way since I can ever remember. At the time in high school, I think I weighed 135 pounds or so. So it wasn't a big guy. It's just a little nugget, man, running around just trying to make his way in the high school world. I did fight quite a bit. I grew up fighting. I mean, the actual fist fighting kind of stuff because of that kind of thing. And I think my mental interior, if you will, is that. So I'm just a big jackass now. So, and I'm not taking shit from anybody of any stature. So that was really it, man. That's Dave Henry in a nutshell.
Sure. So what took you then, Dave, to being in high school, then to having a 20-year military career?
That's all I knew. The military is all I knew because my dad was in, and he retired right after Desert Storm and stuff. And that's actually around the time I came in the mid 90s. We'll just say that. And that's when I came in. So he had retired. That's all I knew. I had a family to support, so I wasn't going to leave them out as well. I was like, man, I got a crappy paying job. I'm finished with school. What else is there for me? So I was like, man, I'll just go in. And it was like, oh, sounds like a great idea. And it was a shock. But, when you're 20 years old or so, and you come in the Air Force or any branch, and it's a wake up call for a lot of people. For thousands every year, it's a wake up call for those of us that can stick it out. 95% of my time in was fantastic. No regrets. The other 5% was near my end of my retirement when I kind of sort of didn't give a shit. And there was a lot of things happening in the military that I didn't agree with, so I didn't choose to stay around to be that one man fighting, uphill for something that was not going to change. So that's when I elected to retire. And then I was like, man, I'm punching out. I've had enough of this. Let somebody who gets paid more than me deal with the shenanigans.
Sure. So, did you tour at all while you were with the military?
Yeah.
Did you do any?
Yeah. I deployed a few times or so during my time in, and for just personal reasons. I'm not going to tell people where I was at or any of that other stuff. But yeah, I missed the entire competing year, if you guys recall, back in 2011. I deployed in March, right Arnold Classic weekend, and I came home Olympia weekend. I literally came home Olympia weekend. My wife had to come and get me.
Yeah.
She had I let her know, hey, I'm coming home. She's like, oh shit. So boom, came got me. That was then, on that one right there for that year. And then the other year previous to that was another time, and previous to that was right after 9/11. We were second unit called up to get out of country and stuff. So, and I was gone for 7 months on both of those stints. So, it was trying, but I made it work and got it done.
Sure. So, how does active military duty and competing fit together?
They didn't. They really didn't. At the time, man, I was the only IFBB pro, active duty IFBB pro. Now, we're not talking reserve. We're not talking about the weekend warrior individuals out there that are pro status right now, and everybody likes to compare me to. No, I wasn't 9 to 5. It was 7 days a week, 24 hours a day if needed to be on call, and that's what we are when you're active duty. Knock against those guys, but don't compare me with the other dudes when you didn't live it for 20 straight years, getting up, at 4 a.m. to a 6 a.m., meeting, only to be told, 8 hours into your shift, you're on 12s, kind of stuff. So there's a difference in that. And I was on the flight line. I wasn't in a desk. I wasn't in behind a desk doing stuff. I was out there on the line, humping bombs, ammunition, loading aircrafts, things like that. So it wasn't a pencil pusher like that I call chair force. I'm like, every branch has the administrative. That actually is the part of the ASFAB that I failed horribly on. So there we go. We'll put it right there. I got like 60s. Everything else got 80s and 90s on that thing, on that stuff. And if you guys don't know what the ASFAB is, it's the aptitude test for all branches of the military when you come in. Anyway, I digress. But the military and pro bodybuilding didn't mix. They really didn't. I had to pave the way for a lot of these guys, if they don't recall, and they may not even give credit to the fact that I was the pioneer getting these guys permissive TDY to go and do what they were doing. I rewrote some regulations and stuff in there that allowed us to get out of country and out of state and whatever to do what we were doing, because they were allowing it for other sports. They were allowing it for like hockey and so I'm like, dude, how come we can't get bodybuilding or the fitness stuff put in there as well? So it was a fight, man. A lot of commanders gave me grief on it and stuff, but it was one of those things. As long as you do your job at or above expectations, when it takes time for you to go out of the area to go compete, they really don't have much to stand on because you're not a scrub. You know what I mean? And again, that's all subjective. Some people thought you were and weren't because you weren't a yes man, and that's definitely not me, which is another reason why I chose to retire, because I said, I'm brown enough, man. I ain't sucking up to anymore. I ain't brown nosing anymore for anybody else. So that's, again, another story. But, they didn't mix. And when I won in 2008, man, it didn't change anything. I mean, it every time somebody saw me on the flight line, they're like, hey, that's Sergeant Henry, he won the Olympia. Everybody's like, yeah, cool. They would just go on because they didn't know what it was, man, So, but nowadays, if you were to tell somebody that and I was still out there on the line, they would be like crazy, like, oh, man, kind of stuff. But now, shit, they got pro cards, dime a dozen, man, and everybody is putting IFBB Pro behind their stuff, and it doesn't really carry the same amplitude as it did then, as now it's kind of, it's all right, great.
Sure. So obviously you win the Olympia in 08. I know a lot of people will think, oh, like when you turn pro, you win the Olympia, like, oh, my life changed. But you say like nothing changed, that you just sort of carried on as normal? You went to work the next day, the next week? When was your then?
Yeah, man, I think I won. I won on a Saturday night. I think I was back at work, bro, that Monday morning. I was in uniform, 6 a.m. morning meeting with my coffee in hand, shredded face, and sitting there like every damn body else in uniform. You know what I mean? There was no difference in that other than me telling them, everybody asking, how did you do? You know what I mean?
That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
do you think, obviously, this is retrospect, do you think if the 202 and 212 paid better, you potentially leave the military?
No, not a chance, man. Not a chance. I've got full military pension
Yeah.
and all the stuff that goes along with being retired. I wouldn't trade that for the world. And in a time where people are laid off, furloughed, fired, whatever reasons, I still got my military check coming in every single month. You know what I mean? And that's for the rest of my natural life. So that's one thing I can count on. That's one thing that you do not get if you punch out at 4, 6, whatever time period you're in. To me, retiring was the only end goal that I thought of anyway. I wasn't thinking of, I'm going to do my college years and get my college credit, money for college and punch out. And I know by and large there's a lot of people doing that. That just was not me. I chose to stay the entire time, and everything's a choice. Everything we do in life is a choice, and this is some of the stuff I preach along with that as well, man. Everything's in choice, and my choice was to stay the duration, take care of my family for the duration, because my health care, their health care, my wife's health care, my daughter's health care, it's all taken care of thanks to the DOD and so thanks guys. And that was for my time of sacrifice in. So, and that's where a lot of people don't have that. So I don't care how many times I wanted, I would not have stepped out, because that all is one of those things that, just like money, all these guys spend all their money on cars and stuff, and at the end it's like, what do you have to show for it? My military career is what I have to show for it.
Sure. No, that's a great reason to stay, for not just for yourself but for your family as well. That's a great reason to stay. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So we always finish. We have to be respectful of your time, Dave. We're up to half an hour now, so we always finish just with a couple of questions, and just for a little bit of fun. If you had to pick 3 people to share dinner with, and it's your last dinner, and they're in the fitness industry, who would they be?
Damn, leave my family out of that one. Okay, share my last dinner in the fitness industry with, who would that be? One would be Lee Priest. That dude is straight crazy and badass. Love the guy. He speaks what it is. And despite all the transgressions and bridges burned and other stuff that dude has done, he's always been cool as hell to me. We did a photo shoot when he and I took first and second at the 2006 Ironman. Badass individual. Sticks up for what he believes in. Took the heat for what he believes in, and is still doing it to this day. So he'd be number one. On a personal level, man, I would choose my boy Jose Raymond, because he's just so real, cool as shit. Do anything with him. That guy, we toured around the world together. Literally, we've been around the world together more than any other competitor that I know of. Third. Man, I don't have a third, but between Flex Lewis and Jay Cutler, just because I've been to Jay's house when he and I were Team Muscle Tech together. And after he won the Olympia, he actually made me breakfast at his house the next day and shit when we were over doing a photo shoot, which was kind of cool. What other dudes can say that, right? No one else that I know of. And Flex Lewis has always been a stand-up guy, funny as hell. Great family man, and I can respect that at this present point in time. So it'd have to be like one of them would have to just kneecap each other to fight for that third spot. But for those, man, and that's how I would choose it. I mean, I'd want my last dinners to be filled with a lot of laughter, good retrospective conversation, and zero animosity. You know what I mean?
Awesome. And then finally, 3 favorite films and why?
Gone in 60 Seconds. That's number 1. Love that movie. Love it. I'm a car guy, and Eleanor in that movie was sexy as hell. They even produced an Eleanor 2, which was pretty damn badass. I think Chip Foose redid that. I'm a car guy. I grew up with hot rods and street and muscle cars and stuff. So to me, that is a straight badass just movie itself. Never give it down. Never give it up. And actually, John Wick, the Wick movies, man. 1 and 2. There you go. Both of them. I mean, he gave me only 3, so I can't go 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. But John Wick movies gone in 60 seconds. Keanu Reeves, fantastic individual. It seems like he's a grounded, down to earth, keeps his head where it needs to be and out of politics, and stop telling people what they need to stop doing and shit as a Hollywood actor. He minds his own business, and he actually is a fantastic artist in both those movies. He's trained to actually do those kinds of things. And I'm a gun dude, so he was trained by Terran Tactical, which was fantastic. And then I like the cinematography of it and cinematography of it, and the fight scenes and things like that. And to me, those are what makes some pretty damn good, entertaining movies.
Awesome. I didn't rate the third one. I thought the third one didn't have much of a storyline. 1 and 2 were great, but I just thought John Wick 3 didn't have a great storyline to it. But the first 2 were brilliant.
Yeah, that's why I picked 1 and 2 first. So I was like, okay, I know that. What else you got, man?
Yeah, brilliant. So, David, if people want to get a hold of you for coaching, they want to speak to you for podcasts, where can they find you? Where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, man, fantastic. Yeah, these guys can catch me on IG. I'm at David Henry _IFBB Pro, and catch me online at dhenrypro08@gmail.com if they want to catch me for coaching. I do have several online spots available. Everyone says mine's expensive, and I was like, you know what? I'd like to shoot them a little list of some of the guys I know are like 2 to 3 times more expensive than I am. I give you guys what I'm giving you right here. I'm giving you the one-on-one stuff. So they can catch me for coaching, online training, if you will. Catch me in person. I'm around. I'm trying to bring up my YouTube. You guys get on my YouTube. It's David Henry, the real DH. When you see that, that's my stuff. Go to YouTube, try to bring it up there. I'm trying to do a little more on that and get into there a little better, because since we're all sequestered, might as well get some time on the tube. Other than that, there it is, man. Oh, I know. It's just thank my sponsors currently, Earth Nutri, and those guys for giving me a couple of great years of competing under their umbrella and stuff. Who knows what happens after all this stuff is done. But currently, that's what we got. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I am COVID-19 free, and so is my family. You guys stay the same way. Be safe, you guys. There's a lot of knuckleheads out there who think it won't happen to them. Hopefully, it doesn't. But just whether it's a made-up scam or whatever kind of theory practices people are coming up with, just something's out there. You know what I mean? Something's out there, and it can get you, and you don't know how your body's going to respond. So other than that, stay safe, train safe, and be well. Hopefully we see you guys at the Olympia.
Thank you ever so much, David. I really appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Take care, mate. Thank you. Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us, and make sure you subscribe. Until next time, check out all the athletes' updates on Pro Female Fitness, and for all your supplement needs, head over to www.mygymsups.com.